We are the original Saturday Menudo Club, except no substitutes. Ya no más.
Hi, I am Elsa. You are watching the Saturday Menudo Club ZoomCast with host Carmen Cavazos and co-host Andy Valadez. Please like, share, follow, and visit SaturdayMenudoClub.com. Ya no más. Stay hungry, my friends.
All right. My name is Andy Valadez. I'm the co-host of the new Saturday Menudo Club, the podcast on Zoom here with Carmen Cavazos. She's going to be our host, but today we're going to spend some time chatting about this little club that we started. How you doing, Carmen?
I'm doing great, Andy. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited for the things that are going to be rolled out here in a few days. So I feel the energy.
Awesome. Well, I wanted to take this time to kind of we're going digital, right? What that means is a lot of cool things with trainings, with communications, utilizing some AI, also expanding events, etc. But this little club that we started a couple of years ago is gaining momentum and steam. But before we get into the club a little more, I wanted to talk to you about how a little bit about your background and ultimately how you got involved in politics, maybe a little bit about your service in the military, and then we can move back over to this mission. I call it a mission for the Saturday Menudo Club to bring the community together to talk about the issues of the day, solve problems, and thankfully there's a lot of good people in the Houston area and beyond that are paying attention to what we're doing, and also sharing some great ideas, great solutions from just concerned citizens to those that are holding office, to those that are working with nonprofits, working with the church, whatever. But anyway, Carmen, so how'd you tell us a bit about yourself? Where were you born? Where did you grow up? And a little bit about your family. And just, you got the floor.
Great. Well, thank you for letting me speak. It's a great opportunity to engage with our community. Let me start off a little bit. I'm a native Houstonian. I am a veteran. I'm Marine. So once a Marine, always a Marine. I carry that with the badge of honor. Great community with other vets. And I think we really have to emphasize the unity, not only in the service that we share, but also outside, working within our own communities. So I was a veteran, Marine Corps. I have also been both in the political realm and in the corporate world. So I've had a feel for both. One of the things and one of my passions that really stuck with me is in 2016, I really wanted to get involved in our election process and what that would entail as to how I could do my part, not only by participating in an election, but I wanted to be more involved as to knowing who our candidates were, knowing what their values were. So that passion grew, and it actually pulled me out of the corporate world. I was a flight attendant at that point for about 22 years, and I felt something tug at me. And as I seen the world around me start to shift right after COVID, it awoke in a passion where I wanted to get involved more. So I started off going into the avenue of being an election worker, just finding out that I could participate was something that really motivated me to get more information on that. So I reached out to my local party, the Harris County Republican Party. I became involved in elect work as an election worker, and then I moved myself up to actually participating as a alternate judge and then actually a presiding judge. So all those terminologies were new to me at that point in time, 2016, 2020. And what I noticed was a lot of our community did not know the process or even an outlet to get this information. During that time when I was an election worker and I had reached out to my local party, I got more and more information as to the bigger role that I wanted to play within politics. In 2022, I actually became the primary elections director for the Harris County Republican Party. And then I did get a promotion and I ended up as the regional director for election integrity for the state party, the RPT. that expanded my knowledge, and I wanted to actually share that knowledge with my community. Wanted to inform our community that those of y'all that are or were interested in becoming a part of not only the election cycles, but also helping out in candidate campaigns, or just knowing who the campaign candidates were and who was going to be on the ballot. That was a passion that was ignited in me. And I started to get involved more in local groups. And sure enough, that's when I met Mr. Andy Valadez, a fellow a Marine veteran, who shared an idea, a creativity that helped the community over food on a weekend, on a Saturday, once a month, and it was the Saturday Menudo Club. So I'm very fortunate to have encountered Andy, encountered this idea and this passion that he carried, and together merging to form what is now called the Saturday Menudo Club. So thank you, Andy, for that fantastic creativity that propelled you forward with this concept, and for sharing that with me. And now we share it with our community as well.
Wow. So you do come qualified with your experience, and I can't imagine being a flight attendant for 22 years. You have to serve the people, right? Because that's a confined environment. You know, people have their rough days, they have their good days, and do you think that experience has helped you to be such a juggernaut and a connector in the community, right? Because politics is a dirty business, right? And you do have folks that are they are politicians. Let's
Yeah.
just say it. But you got real people that are really working hard, and they're trying to solve problems in the community. And I think this whole simple idea that we got started, I mean, it's been a lot of work. I mean, it's 2 years of time and effort of being away from your family. I know you have a family, I have a family. It's a sacrifice, right? But these leaders that are serving, they're doing the same thing. They're having to take away time for their family to serve the community at large. So what's been kind of rewarding for you? I mean, it's over a simple bowl of menudo, and interestingly, menudo is kind of the poor man's soup. In Mexico, the rich people kind of look down on the people that eat the menudo, right? So,
Yeah.
but it really isn't about the menudo; it's about the people. But go ahead.
So the conversation had over these meals are conversations that probably wouldn't otherwise happen. A lot of people after COVID kind of kept to themselves, kind of secluded themselves. And a lot of the information that has transformed our environment since COVID isolated a lot of people. And what I found, when what I continue to see, is that our club, the Saturday Menudo Club, gives a voice to people who felt voiceless. And there's a saying, a very famous saying now that our club has carried through, is "Ya no más," right? "Ya no más" with the silence, "Ya no más" with the unknown. We are moving forward. We're taking our community with us and forming, in 2024, when President Trump was on the ballot, you hear a lot of data and statistics mentioning that Hispanic men came out and voted. They came out and voted, some of them for the first time. Some were dormant voters who voted maybe 10 or 15 years ago and came out to vote again. But I think that information, and Andy, I think you mentioned this a few days ago when we were conversing over the phone, was knowledge is power. But people forget that second part of it is applied knowledge. You have to apply it. Once you know something, share it. If it's positive news, you want that information to get out. A lot of our candidates that come into our club are what we call grassroots candidates. They're not candidates that are incumbents that have been backed by multimillionaires or multi PACs or corporations that pour millions of dollars into specific race. What we bring forward, and what I find very enlightening about our Saturday Menudo Club, is that the platform is open. It doesn't matter if the candidate is an incumbent and carries millions of dollars, or it doesn't matter if it's a grassroots candidate who just wants to do good for their community, put their name on the ballot because they know they can make a positive difference in the political scene. So the conversation over menudo, the conversation over delicious food that we share once a month on the first Saturday of the month. It brings forward the questions that a lot of people were reluctant to ask for fear of retaliation or being blackmarked or being silenced, sometimes by their own family, sometimes by their friends, sometimes by their own party. So this gives them an avenue to come out and ask those questions, concerns, ideas. We've had a lot of people just come out and want to be around like-minded individuals. And our club and our time together with our guests gives them that opportunity for an outlet. And I just love that. I love that. I love to interact with our guests because this club is not just about a host. It's not just about a candidate. It's about community. And I think that is what the Saturday Menudo Club is about, is community, engagement. It's everything you could possibly want to ask on one platform, and having the ability to be respected and to have the dignity to ask a question and hopefully have an answer. And if we don't have an answer, the candidate doesn't have an answer, at least to have a comeback or a feedback when we have our next meeting the following and say, this is a question that was asked. We didn't have an answer for them at that time, but we did some research and here's the answer. So I love to give people the opportunity to engage over great menudo, over great food, and over great conversations.
Yeah, so this reminds me of what I call Latin wisdom. My grandmother, our grandparents, I mean, they gave us a heritage, right? And it turns out that it's conservative. They wanted us to get educated, the best education we could get. I mean, both of my parents worked two jobs just so they could provide a good home, but then, they wanted me to go to college, right? You look at working hard, being a person of your word. I remember my grandmother always had food for people. So there's something when you break bread with someone, it's almost like you got that trust, that authenticity that can't be replicated. It can't be politicized. It can't be substituted. It's just the original decency of the gente, I guess that's what we call it. The cousins, the people that are in town that had businesses. So it seems like this Menudo Club, and we share entrepreneurship, those that have businesses. And thankfully, we've got a business that's supporting us with El Tiempo and the locations that we're going to be moving to. Just a good, decent people that like truth. They like honor, all the things that we learned in the Marine Corps, right? As well.
Yes.
But these aren't
And
necessarily.
courage. You have to have courage,
Yeah,
Andy.
audacity. What does I say? I'm not going to say the word, but you know what I'm saying. You got to have cojones or something like that.
Yeah.
But what was interesting too is just it took fire. I think for the first 2 years, we really didn't know what we had. We just gathered, and as we were working through, the model. I mean, we bring a camera because a lot of times, we go to networking events, and it becomes a faded memory. But when you memorialize it on camera, where people can share their message with their people, other people's people, and we have yet to really like turn up the social media for this thing. And again, as we go digital. We really are looking to hit the airwaves, and we don't want to say too much, but yeah, at some point we did talk about this, but doing a radio show at some point, doing a TV show,
Yeah.
bringing production to this thing, and just expanding it. Celebrating the youth. You got some up and coming,
Yes.
leaders within our group, that we recognized this last year. But what do you see? For this Menudo Club, you've been involved, and of course, you've been involved on the inside with the Republican Party, et cetera. But a lot of times, it seems like the Latin voice, they pay attention for a little bit, and then they kind of, you kind of get forgotten, right? Once you're in office,
Yeah.
they all swear an oath to serve, but then when they're in office, they kind of forget sometimes.
Yeah. So I think one of the important things to remember is, voters here in Harris County, roughly about 52% of the population in Harris County is Hispanic. And a lot of those are up and coming new voters. I've seen so many times the engagement that our own party facilitated, but for a very short time. They would go into an area, and unfortunately, when an election cycle passed, there was no representation after that. I think one of the messages that I foresee the Saturday Menudo Club, especially with the expansion, our vision is directed at this point is that we're not going anywhere. We're not coming in for just a couple months. We're not coming in for just an election cycle. We're actually here to stay. Familia, blood thicker than water. And I see a lot of our guests as repeat guests because they're hungry for that information. And I foresee us doing many wonderful things with our youth. There was a couple of field trips that we did in the past, but I want to gear those field trips out towards our youth, get them involved. They are our future. And what better way to have our future than to educate them? There is a concept that I believe in, that biases need to be left at the door, right? We have to have an open platform for all of our audience to make their own decisions on which way they want to vote. But we do bring in the Hispanic community at this point, and it's very well known. We're typically traditionally conservative in the way that our culture has been. We're very pro-life. We believe in the unity of family. We believe in little government, right? We don't want big brother over our necks all the time. So there's a lot of conservative issues, morals, values that are within the Hispanic community. I foresee that in the message of the Saturday Menudo Club, the message of what we believe in, to be expanded, and not only within Harris County, but there are other venues throughout the state of Texas that we are looking into. So, that's still to come. I don't want to let the cat out of the box too early, or the cat out of the bag, excuse me. But there's a lot of things that we have planned to hopefully have objectives to carry out. And our youth is one of our primary. We want to collectively do a scholarship for some of our youths in the future. That's something that's in the work right now. But ultimately, what we want to do is we want to keep all of our guests and all of our communities informed on upcoming elections. We have one as well in November of 2025 happening. And then we have the midterm primaries coming up. And I believe it's February, March of 2026. So we have short-term goals, and then we have long-term goals. And that's something that Andy and I, and potentially other co-hosts that are going to be joining the group, are going to be working on. So we do invite all of our guests to keep posted, because that's coming. And I bet you'll be as excited as we are to get that information.
Right. So we have basically share our social media, go to our website at SaturdayMenudoClub.com. For me as and I look at how this could possibly expand to other cities, other towns. We've got a nice model. I think, we'll be looking for hosts to host their own Menudo Club, in their area of town, right? Because it's like you have little pockets, but the bigger the message, the bigger the community, the better. And we'll still include videos and all that for the same venues. But we do have all ethnicities. I mean, we have Caucasians, we have the Black community involved as well. And that's, I think, another sign of the Hispanic community. We've always worked with the communities that we lived in, right? From all ethnicities, and of course, even each ethnicity has their soup, and it really isn't about the menudo, right? Most of the time, some people like pastoles, some people like enchiladas or carnitas and fajitas. Again, it's more about the people than it is
Exactly.
what you bring to the table, your experience, your understanding, and it's really been interesting just to see the many faces that frequently come. They wouldn't come if they didn't find something of value, right?
Absolutely. And, there are so many cultures in Harris County, even though I mentioned, 52% Hispanic, but we have our Asian brothers and sisters, we have our Black brothers and sisters, and they're hungry for that knowledge as well. When we're expanding into territories that host or have community of all colors. And we have to be able to provide that. And I think you just mentioned, everyone has their particular soup, right? And I think we had previously discussed pho.
Yeah,
We've discussed so many different foods, and food brings people together. And we're wanting so many good things to happen throughout not only Harris County but throughout the state of Texas. And what better way to do it than, and I think you mentioned this, to break bread, right? Come together to a table, have those conversations. Sometimes those conversations may not be, 100% agreeable. There might be differences of opinion or differences of point of view, but everyone's point of view and everyone's, opinion or concerns are valid. So it's a place to come together, have great discussions, and that's what we want to share with everyone here at the Saturday Menudo Club.
All right. So we have an event. This will date this particular interview, but we do have plans here to start bringing on guests. Right now, we wanted to set a foundation, get a chance to know you a little bit better. I think the next interview, you're going to interview me a little bit. And so that way, once the audience knows kind of where we're coming from, there's an old saying, first seek to understand, then a lot of times people don't know. Like Carmen is a force to contend with, right? She is a strong, independent Latina lady who knows her place in history today, and so thankful that you fight for what you believe in. And as a dad, I have two girls, and I was in the Marines, and I was like, I could not imagine two of my girls going into the military, right? So, what did your parents think about that?
Well, my mom cried a lot. But, as a child, my dad, I used to sit down with my father and we used to see Platoon, Full Metal Jacket, and I don't know, it was something that my father wanted to share with me when I was young for some reason, and I loved it. I felt the need to serve my country. And, people do it in many different ways. I'm not saying you have to go into the military to serve your country, but there's many different avenues that people take to feel like they are doing their civil duty and serving their country. Mine was joining the military. It was something that I wanted to do since I was 5 or 6 years old. I remember sitting next to my father watching these movies. I thank God. I'm a Christian. I believe 100% in, Jesus Christ. He is our Lord and Savior. And the foundation of being a Christian, of wanting to do better for our community, the values, the morals that I share within my Hispanic culture, I think it's all shaped me into the person that I am today. I believe integrity, courage, perseverance. Those are values that I find very close to heart. And when I see someone in need, when I see someone actually truly struggling, I'll get, if I can, the shirt off my back. But I've always been that way. I've always felt like there's a bigger calling. And with the Saturday Menudo Club, I have found that avenue where we're not helping one or two people, right? We're helping, tens, 50s, 100. I've seen 150 people at one of our meetings before. So it's gone from, an idea that Andy cultivated and created and shared with me, and with his hard work and with my hard work and with many others along the way, this has grown to encompass a lot of people, and I'm hoping to share that. I mean, I'm excited to share that throughout the state of Texas. It's something that I welcome everyone who's listening to this. Be a part of this. If you like to come and join us at a meeting, we're going to have several. Or we've had a couple with August 16 coming up in the month of August, but we have so much planned. I want you to come and join us and sit down and have a bowl of menudo and have a great conversation with us.
Right. So if someone hasn't been to a meeting before, can you kind of quickly tell them what the format's like and the venues that we use and, just the preparation for each meeting, the discussion to talk about the guests that the speakers we get, just to give a quick profile of what all is involved in doing these things.
So basically, the way that we have formatted the meeting is we put an invite out, maybe a week or two ahead of time. We invite the community. It will have a list of speakers that have confirmed to come to the meeting. What you'll expect to find at the meeting is there's a 30-minute networking that happens at the beginning. We typically start a meeting at 11:30. So for about 30 minutes, our guest speakers, along with our audience, are mingling and sharing information, sharing stories, or just having a pleasant conversation. So it's an open venue. anyone is welcome to attend. So for the first 30 minutes, everyone's kind of just meeting and getting to know each other. And then what happens is we open up the meeting, typically with a prayer, and then we do our Pledge of Allegiance, which is our national pledge, and then we do our state pledge. And usually it's volunteers in the audience. You know, whoever would like to start the pledge, we give them the opportunity. If somebody wants to assign themselves to do that for the prior meeting, they're more than welcome to do that. And then we do an introduction. The introduction can be anything from current events that are happening within our local government, it being, you know, local events that happen, a topic that might be of a concern or a hot topic. Then we try to do maybe a state or national topic. And we get feedback from our audience, you know, concerns, ideas, feedback of the topic. Then we typically move into what our guest speaker, our main guest speaker would be. Typically, they're given maybe 15 or 30 minutes, depending on how long they want to speak. And then after that, we'll mix in the local candidates, sometimes state candidates that are running for office. Typically after that, about 1:15, 1:30, we open up the platform for anyone who wants to mention, you know, some things that may be a group activity that's happening throughout Harris County or a state field trip or anything that they want to talk about. A lot of our people sometimes take trips to the Capitol in Austin. So there's a lot of networking happening before the meeting and after the meeting. So we ask everybody, you know, interact with people, network. There's always really good information. I had a gentleman at our last meeting approach one of our candidates, and it was regarding a probate question. The gentleman had a family member who had passed, and one of our judges who's running for justice of the peace was there, or excuse me, one of the candidates. And there was just a quick interaction about, you know, what typically would happen in a probate situation. So it's not necessarily legal advice that they're giving, some kind of direction as to, you know, what could potentially be an avenue for them to take. So we have candidates of all backgrounds, and so we do invite everybody to come out. You'd be surprised what you may pick up or may learn, or, you know, you might be able to educate somebody on a certain topic. So it's an open platform for everyone. So again, we invite you August 16th at 11:30 a.m. is our next meeting, and it will be at El Tiempo on Navigation.
Awesome. Yeah. And just keep visiting the website after this date for our community calendar. So we are opening up that community calendar to other leaders who have shown themselves to be trustworthy and good, honorable people. So they can post their events on our calendar. Typically, you know, a lot of times the politics tries to divide us on left and the right. And I think this is kind of a force, you know, we're fiercely independent, you know, can't be bought, can't be sold, can't be, you know, kicked to the side, can't be substituted. So Saturday Menudo Club is, you know, again, our rally cry is Ya no mas. I want to hear the
Ya no
president.
mas.
I want to hear the president say that one time. I remember my grandmother telling me, "Ya no mas." That meant I was about to get the bada if I didn't stop it. You know what I'm saying? But that's really, it's like we're tired of the you know, the BS, just the lies, the deception, the manipulation. We've had it up to here on that. But if you're listening in another country, because the world is flat right now, you know, I'd love to see like you start a Menudo club in Puerto Rico, in El Salvador, or in Mexico. Bring the people together, right? And the tyrants don't like that. When the people start getting together, they start worrying.
Yeah.
How can I
Power in
control this
numbers.
conversation? We got to export freedom, you know, throughout the world. And of course, being a Christian, the Great Commission is to go make disciples of nations, right? So nations need to take care of their people, and unfortunately, a lot of them want to leave their country and come here because of the tyranny that's in their country, right? So this is dangerous speech. Thankfully, you and I fought for that freedom of speech. You know, the shadow banning we don't agree with, the attack on our Second Amendment, all the stuff that was happening here. It seemed like, you know, the voter irregularities, I call it, you know, just the you know, we still have issues with that, by the way. But we're it seems like there's more people awake now than ever before.
And I think that's the go, Andy, is, you know, information is great, but you have to get that information to the masses. And what better way to do it is, you know, the type, this is what I love about our club. What better way to do it than to do it over bringing in our community, having a great, food menudo. It was growing up for us, the comfort food. And I love to share that. It is just, mom and pop. It's the neighbor down the street. It's the voter who wanted to ask specific questions and can never really find a person to direct those questions to. One of our up and coming, hopefully we reached out to Harris County Elections Office, is bringing in somebody from the elections office and giving just a quick overview as to what are the elections, how are they organized. So we have a lot of interesting topics that are planned out for the next few months, and they're topics to educate, inform, and actually motivate our voters to get involved in future elections. So a lot of good stuff happening. So I invite you again, keep up with our calendar on our website and just come and join us. You won't be disappointed, I promise you.
Awesome. So you've been watching the Saturday Menudo Club podcast. We may also convert this to an audio for those that like to listen to the radio or podcast type, messages. So again, my name is Andy Valadez. I'm your co-host. Carmen Cavazos is going to be our host, so we'll be facilitating this in the future. Again, you've been watching Saturday Menudo Club, the podcast, where it's a media experience for leaders.